Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here. So with the release of Forza Horizon 5 etching closer every single day, one of the most anticipated aspect of the game in which Playground Games has yet to reveal is of course the car list. Now throughout the Horizon series or even the entire Forza lineup, each new title usually grants us with cars that are exclusive to the new game. We've already seen some throughout the gameplay reveal, such as the Mercedes Project 1, the 2021 Ford Bronco, to even the legendary Jaguar XJR15. But of course, with the Forza franchise now spanning well over a decade, some of the early cars that were once unique have disappeared. Now, to give credit to the developers, in Forza Horizon 4, many of these cars were resurrected through the festival playlist. However, if we flip through the history books far enough, you will begin to notice some really cool cars that you may didn't even know about. So in today's video, we're going to wind the clock back and look at 8 rare, pre-tuned or modded cars that once existed in a Forza game. Starting off with number 1, the Mitsubishi Sparco Evolution 8. Featured in the original Forza Motorsport title and Forza Motorsport 2, one thing that I loved about those titles was that it aimed to be the direct rival to PlayStation's Gran Turismo. So what the developers did was gain a bunch of licenses for these awesome aftermarket cars like the Sparco Evo to let game racers know that, hey, we've got cool tuner cars too. And throughout the rest of this video, you'll most likely notice a strong pattern with the cars that have disappeared from the franchise, but this bluish Evo was modified by Sparco USA in collaboration with Japanese tuning icon Apex. Now unfortunately, in the earlier Forza games, there was no cockpit view, so we weren't able to see all the different gauges and aftermarket steering wheel installed, but what we do know is that this car is heavily modified with Apex upgrades, all mainly on the engine. This helped the Sparco Evo churn out an impressive 450 brake horsepower from a 2-litre engine, and remember, this is a car that exists in reality. So who remembers this from back in the day? Number 2, the Mitsubishi Mines Lancer Evo 6. Here is another aftermarket Evo, but this time it's from Mines, one of Japan's most recognized and established tuners, featured again only in the original Forza Motorsport and Motorsport 2. It's interesting that this Evo didn't make it to the next 2 Motorsport titles after, considering that the Mines Skyline GTRs did. Producing around 400 brake horsepower, what made the Mines Evo unique was that it was tuned and modified to be balanced for everyday driving and also attacking a race course. With many aftermarket parts installed, including an HKS GT2835 Turbo, the Mines Evo was deliberately tuned to have immense low to mid-range torque, completely changing the characteristic from a standard Evo. To me, I love this car, and I do wish in the more recent Forza games that we can replicate these cars to a T. Number 3, the Mugen S2000. Seems like there's quite a few Japanese cars, aren't there, on this list? Well, you are correct. During this time when the original Forza Motorsport game came out, and also who they wanted to compete against, JDM aftermarket parts, tuning, and cars were massive within the car culture. But with this Mugen S2000, apart from the aesthetics and livery, there isn't much else that's really done to the vehicle. The power output hasn't really changed, but what Mugen did do was to allow the car to breathe much better at higher RPM with an aggressive lightweight intake and titanium exhaust. But overall, the car was meant to be driven as a road-going commute, hence the very modest upgrades. But like most aftermarket tuner cars, they shine at their very best on a circuit, which is why I guess this was included in the Motorsport games. Number 4, the Hyundai HKS Genesis Coupe. Perhaps one of the most rarest cars ever in Forza's history. only ever appearing in Forza Motorsport 3, this was a DLC and was a part of the car pack that included 2 other Hyundai Genesis. Now, car pack updates like this back in the day, even though they were free, don't just get automatically updated into your game as you load in. You actually have to go into the Xbox Live Marketplace and download it for yourself. And it's safe to say that many players missed out on this aftermarket beast. Comparable to something like the Mine's Evolution, this Genesis had some very nice aftermarket body parts installed. And producing 440 brake horsepower, this rear-wheel drive beast was everything before the Toyota GT86 was even a thing. It's just unfortunate that this car, not just in game but in reality, went quite unnoticed during its time as it was a South Korean car, but my goodness was it a great unique gem. Number 5, the Toyota Toms Z382 Sora. I must admit, this one isn't one of my favorite cars ever to exist in the franchise. First off, what is with the paint livery or design? It just looks terrible. And second, I'm just not a big fan of these Soras. With that said, this was a very unique pre-tuned vehicle in the Forza franchise, as this car was tuned and modified by Toms, who essentially were Toyota's and Lexus's factory supported racing team. Not much is known about this Toms Sora, as not only it was really rare seeing it through the eyes of the public, but it also didn't appear in any other racing games as well. It's literally only ever been in Forza Motorsport 1 and Motorsport 2, and all we know is that the naturally aspirated V8 engine now has a turbo slapped on. Number 6, the Toyota APR Performance Celica GTS. Okay, so I think I remember why so many of these aftermarket cars have weird paint jobs from the early 2000s, and that is because of the Fast and Furious movies. I could be wrong, however. Now, the APR Celica was a pre-tuned car done by APR Performance from the United States. Now, in terms of modifications, in-game, the car has increased its power by around 60 brake horsepower, amounting to a total of just under 230 brake horsepower. This was courtesy to a supercharger installed onto the engine, but the best part about this is of course the body kit. This was a GT300 inspired wide body kit that actually made the car look better, unlike some of the other ones that were also featured in earlier Forza titles. But forget Rocket Bunny, forget Liberty Walk, this looks sensational, and to think it existed in the very first Motorsport title and second one too, I'm beginning to remember this car very fondly, and it's truly a car that I miss. Number 7, Lexus Foose Design IS430 Project Car. One of the rarer cars on this list, only ever appearing in Forza Motorsport 2, this was built to show off the potential of what the Lexus IS300 could achieve. According to Rod Millen Special Vehicles, who were the tuners for this project, swapping the engine was fairly easy, replacing the 3-litre naturally aspirated inline 6 with a Meteor 4.3-litre naturally aspirated V8. The hardest part about this project was coming up with all the electronics. Of course, in a video game, none of this really matters, but what was cool about this project was that it was actually commissioned by Lexus themselves, and to finish off the final touches, Foose Design added all the exterior work to this Lexus project. And lastly, number 8, the Mazda RE, a Mamiya RX-7. I know we've covered this car on this channel before, but man, how awesome were the older Forza games too. Each to their own, but this is one beastly pre-tuned RX-7. Only ever appearing in Forza Motorsport 2, this is one of the most beloved body kits that we all would like to see return for Forza Horizon 5. Even if we don't get the entire interior customization for this vehicle, just imagine how diverse the body kit catalog would be for the Mazda RX-7s. I don't know, what do you guys think about this car? To me, this was one of my favorites, and I believe this particular version is unique specifically to the Forza series. There are other Mamiya RX-7s that we have seen in Gran Turismo, but this is a very special one as well. So there we have it guys, 8 rare pre-tuned or modded cars that were once in a Forza game. If you guys did find this video interesting, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button as that would really help me out. And lastly, if you guys would like to see more Forza related content and also updates for Forza Horizon 5, make sure to click the subscribe button with notifications turned on. That way you won't ever miss out on another video that goes live, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.